So I have some worship leader friends who have recently purchased the HX Stomp and or the new Pod Go. And these are worship leaders who are new to the world of electric guitar. And so I started this series on my channel called Worship Guitar Essentials, where I cover the basics on commonly used worship guitar effects. Now this is the third installment. I have two others. The first one was Reverb Essentials and Overdrive Essentials, and you can check those out. And you can check those out in the card up here or down in the description. But today we're talking about delay. Now delay is one of those effects that can be a little overwhelming at first, a little complicated. But with what we're gonna learn today, you don't have to be afraid anymore. You can start making great music right now. Stick around. All right, so you're back. So today we're talking about the guitar effect called delay. But you may be wondering, well, what is delay? I'm new to all this. I don't even know what delay is. Well, what delay does is it takes your original guitar tone and it just repeats it at the parameters that you set. So the first thing you need to know is that since delay is taking a note on your guitar and repeating it in real time, it's helpful to have a basic understanding of time or tap divisions. The three most commonly used, or most commonly used by me, are quarter note, eighth note, and dotted eighth. So I've set up a loop down here on my HX Stomp, just a little riff, and I'm going to scroll through those three different tap divisions, a quarter, eighth, and dotted eighth, so you can hear what they do to the signal. Now, as I switch between them, you might hear a little crazy swirly sound. That's okay, that's normal. That's just the delay pedal trying to catch up to the new time signature. All right, so let me hook that up. And let me make sure that I press record in GarageBand so that I don't do all this and you don't actually hear it. Recording, good, still recording. Okay, right now I'm recording. When I make videos that I have to have all this gear set up, I have to have the camera right, I have to have the mic right, I have to have HX Edit pulled up, I have to have my notes for the video. I also have to have GarageBand to make sure it's recording. There's a lot of things to think about, and I forget to actually just enjoy making this video. All right, so we're all hooked up. I've just recorded a little loop and I will cycle through quarter, eighth, and dotted eighth, and hopefully I'll put it on the screen to let you know which one is there. Notice that the quarter note delay will have a longer tail, so it kind of reacts differently to the different notes. The eighth is a little shorter, so it doesn't react quite as differently, but it's very similar to quarter. But then when we get to dotted eighth, it's drastically different, and it's one of my favorite effects. So pay attention to those different sounds. This is quarter. Eighth. Dotted eighth. I love that. Okay, so one of the things about delay, what makes it so complicated is there are a bunch of different parameters, a bunch of knobs that can be confusing to know exactly what they do, but it's really not that complicated. They all just tweak the repeats. Thought someone's coming in. They all just tweak the repeats in a certain way. Now, before we jump into these, I will say you need to understand what trails and spillover are before you go buying a delay pedal. It's good to understand that. I don't want to take up too much time in this video to talk about that because I did a lengthy explanation and demonstration in my Reverb Essentials video. You can go check that out. But now we're going to jump into the different parameters and how it shapes and affects your delay tone. So one of the first parameters or knobs that you may see on your delay pedal is the mix knob. Now what this does is it sets how much of the effect, the delay effect in this case, is present compared to, in relation to, your original guitar tone. This is with the mix all the way up. Notice how the repeats are pretty prominent. And as we lessen the mix, the repeats become less prominent, and if we turn the mix all the way down, there's no repeats. The next parameter is delay time. Now this is measured in milliseconds or BPM, and what this does is it sets how fast the repeats are going. So the lower the time, the slower the repeats are. The faster the time, the faster the repeats are. The faster the repeats are. It sounds like this. This is 120 BPM. And if I were to change that to 60, you'll notice it's half that. A lot slower. And if I change it to 240, a lot faster. All right, so you have your mix and your time, your delay time knobs. Those are kind of boring, but now we're getting into some of the fun stuff. The next knob or parameter you can set on your delay pedal is feedback. Now feedback sets how many repeats there will be. Right now we have about 4 repeats. I will say that having between 3 and 5 repeats is a good starting point for most lead lines in a song. Obviously it depends on what you're trying to play, but I usually go to about 4 repeats and then tweak from there. It could sound something like this. But if you crank up this parameter, if you crank up the feedback, which gives you way more repeats, you can make some really good swells with it. Crank it up even more, it'll almost go infinite. Now if you crank the feedback knob all the way up, it will make some crazy sounds. It'll keep going, repeating on itself over and over again. You don't have to play anymore. And then you can tweak some knobs. It's pretty cool. I'll demonstrate what that's like. Kind of crazy. So feedback is really fun. The next parameter that I see on here is level. Now all this does is it just increases the overall volume of everything. Sometimes some effects tend to make your overall levels go down, so this just gives you some more decibels to play with. So those are the common effects that you will see on a delay pedal. Now you may see some other ones like grit or headroom, which is just the clarity of the repeats. And another one you might see on stereo delays is spread, which just determines how wide the delay sound will be. But once you get a grasp on those 3 basic parameters, the mix, how much delay you want in your signal, the time, the BPM of the song that you're playing, and the feedback, how much of the repeats you want in your signal, whether you're playing a lead line or swells, you'll be able to nail the part in the song that you're trying to play. Now there are a bunch of different types of delay, but there's 2 main ones that I use. One is digital delay and the other one is tape delay. And the difference is that digital delay usually has very clean repeats, while tape delay mimics the sound of an old tape that the repeats tend to degrade over time. So the first one, digital delay, is what I use when I want a dotted eighth sound because it's really clear. The dotted eighth is prominent in the mix. It sounds like this. Tape delay is really fun because, like I said, the tape part of it tends to degrade over time and it gives it this wow and flutter, as it's called. It sounds like this. You can hear the repeats start to wobble as they trail off. I'm going to increase the wow and flutter in the mix so you can kind of hear what it sounds like in an extreme setting. Hey, well, it's a few days later and I began editing my video only to realize that I lost some footage. But I had some closing thoughts about delay pedals that I want to share with you. The first one is delays as well as reverb pedals when set at low volumes like in your bedroom may not translate well when you go to play live at higher volumes. I used to dial in my settings at low volumes when my kids were asleep down the hallway, and at low levels you can hear all the intricacies of each effect. But I noticed that those details tend to get lost at higher volumes, especially when being pushed through a cranked amp. So make sure to take that into account as you're learning to dial in your delay pedal. Second, and just as a general rule, the more effects you add, the less you need to play, because the effect is beginning to fill up the space that you're used to filling on your own. But just make sure you don't overplay when you're using delay. Lastly, and as with any effect, use delay with purpose. Don't just use it because you've seen a delay pedal on someone else's board or because someone else has done it so you think that you have to have it. Pedals are tools for us to get the sounds that we need and like. Be creative with what you have and fight gas. Gas means gear acquisition syndrome. Look it up. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you want to see more content like this, let me know by liking this video and commenting down below. I just wanted to say thank you for being a subscriber on this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can hit the red button and ding the bell so you can be notified when I release new content. Thank you all for being a part of the Hey Worship Leader family. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.